Hi, my name is Teeny.
And I'm Sade. Welcome to the No But Actually podcast.
And this is a podcast where we try and talk about uplifting, positive, and real conversations that everyone can relate to, and just provide a safe space so that we can kind of walk with each other in this season of transition.
You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe.
And if you want to support us further, you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And we're back. Welcome back to the No But Actually podcast, where today we'll be talking about boundaries. Are you ready to talk about boundaries, Sade?
I have to be, because I am learning about boundaries in this season more than ever. Yeah.
But before we get started, we got to do our top three.
Top three.
So what are our top three for today? Let's do our top three restaurants.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
top three.
You go first.
So hold on, let me pull up my. I save restaurants now.
Ooh, smart.
on Google so that I can remember, because I go places and I forget that I've been there.
That does happen.
So I'm gonna focus on Dallas area.
Okay.
And I've had an experience at all these places.
Yes.
So number one is gonna be Enoteca Italia.
Ooh.
It's a bougie
okay.
restaurant in Dallas, downtown. And when I tell you everything just hit, from the appetizer to the main, to the drinks, everything just hit. Me and my friend went and we got this. They have a secret menu, first of all. I didn't even know how to get to secret menu, but the guy at the bar was just like, we have a secret menu. I said, oh, word, okay. And they, like, the appetizer was sourdough bread that had been like grilled with, like, I think olive oil and salt. And then they had ricotta cheese, which is like basically almost like kind of like a cream cheese with honey, and they drizzled it. Do you know I came home and recreated that because it was so good. It was so good.
Picturing it, I'm like, ooh, that's some different flavors.
It's some different flavors, but it tastes so good. It's so good. And then, like, I forgot what we ordered. I think we got like a ricotta or something like that, and then they put like some type of Wagyu steak on it. It was good. I took pictures. Yes. Like, it was fire. So Enoteca Italia is very good. And then also there's this place called Uchi in Dallas. It's a Japanese restaurant. They do sushi, but they also do like different like they cook some pieces as well. And the reason why I fell in love with this place is because they have like these Wagyu pieces that they put on a bed of rice. So it's like a little sushi piece. Very expensive, but when I tell you, it hits. My mouth was watering as I'm thinking about it, because it was so tender. Like, with the rice and everything.
The Wagyu beef thread.
I know someone else told me about this place called Twisted Root, and they have Wagyu burgers, and I was just like, I've been to
Twisted Root.
I have not.
It's a burger place. Yeah, it's been a minute though.
It's on my list. Yeah, because when I heard that, I said,
we have to go. Yeah, I've been before. It's been a minute though.
There. And then my last favorite place is actually Rodeo Goat right now.
Because
their burgers.
Yeah, does what it needs to do.
Sometimes it takes leaving a place to realize what you really had. And the burgers there are they're good. And so, yeah, very, very good. I got they have this burger called a Bodacious burger. And it has like jalapenos on it. And again, my mouth is watering.
That's right.
These are my favorite restaurants right now in Dallas.
Oh my goodness, you sound so bougie.
I am.
So my choices are gonna sound like just your palate is not as refined. But I would say I love Cheddar's.
Really?
I do, because you just can't go wrong. I've never been disappointed. Most of the stuff on the menu was good. Yeah, it's affordable.
I feel like we talked about this before.
Yeah, I like Cheddar's. They have like margaritas for like.
I know their happy hour menu is like,
yeah, I remember. Like, it's just, it hits. And then I would say, I can't remember the name. What's that place that we went to? It was like, they had soul food.
Where?
We went with with the kids. It was in Irving.
Tupelo honey.
Tupelo
I forgot.
honey.
No, Tupelo.
Tupelo honey is so good.
Tupelo honey.
It became an instant favorite.
That's actually, I might.
Tupelo and then honey.
Honey.
So good. In Irving, like good soul food. Just, oh my goodness.
Yes.
I think I tried.
They have one
things.
in Irving and in Frisco.
Oh, in Frisco.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I tried different things both times I went, and they were both just, everything hit. Like,
no,
there's no wrong choices, and the drink menu is really good too.
Their drinks are A1.
Yeah.
Those are very good drinks there.
Yeah.
No, thank you for reminding me. That was actually Rodeo Goat and Tupelo Honey. They're
competing.
They're very competitive right now.
Yeah. Then what else do I like? Oh my goodness, I don't know. What's my third choice? Keep it simple. I'm gonna choose a fast food place. Just to Chick-fil-A. I mean, it's anointed.
It really is. It's really hard to go wrong.
Yeah. What doesn't taste good? Chick-fil-A. Nothing.
I had someone tell me that they thought Chick-fil-A was too salty, and I was like,
my parents have said that before. I guess if you have like a certain palate, it can be like
I can see that, but I just determined
it hits
that
just right for me.
I was like, it sounds like we do not have the same taste buds.
No, I like seasoned foods. Yeah, season my food.
That's what I said. But yeah, no, Chick-fil-A is a classic, and yeah, I'm only sad that it's not open on Sundays. Yeah, but I understand it's Lord's Day. So. Yeah, those are our favorite restaurants, I guess.
Yeah,
making me hungry. We'll eat soon enough, though. So back to the conversation on boundaries.
Boundaries.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like it's just been like almost a buzzword within the past few years.
Yeah.
And also just growing up as, I guess, a female. Like you're told to be kind, and we've been socialized in so many ways where boundaries can be seen negatively or as being like mean or, not ladylike. And so I feel like now we're coming into a space where it's more acceptable. I mean, there's like Nedra Tawwab. There's lots of people talking about boundaries, lots of books about boundaries and stuff like that. And so we're coming to this space where we're realizing how it's necessary to be true to ourselves and also to others. Like it's just a necessary part of life. And I feel like that's something I've really been practicing in this season, and even just knowing like no is a complete sentence. Like, because you're always trying to explain,
you don't have to explain
down, and you don't have to. Like, it's not something I feel like doing right now, or that's not how I want to spend my time, and just things like that. So when you think about boundaries, what comes to your mind?
Oh goodness. I would say right now, because I also am still learning and undoing certain mindsets around how to maintain relationships with people. I feel like boundaries is like this. In my head, I see like a big brick wall that has like a guard in front of it. And it seems really intense because the things that I am now learning are important to establish boundaries are foreign to me. So like you said, they seem like you're being mean or just like not kind. And especially as a believer and the way that you're socialized as a woman in that setting, a lot of things that are associated with kindness, gentleness, patience, and all these other things oftentimes equate socially with violating boundaries.
For sure.
And that's not necessarily what we're supposed to do in the first place.
Correct.
Being kind and showing boundaries can go hand in hand. Being patient and having boundaries can go hand in hand.
Sure.
Being gentle and having boundaries, all these things can go hand in hand, but we haven't been taught on what that looks like, and understanding that it's okay to say no. Like, it took a long time for me to even change my lens to look at the Bible as a book that is a book of boundaries.
It is.
Right? Like, that's the very first thing that happened in the book, was God saying, please don't do that. And that boundary being violated. But we don't process it that way because we're still learning what that looks like socially, I think. And I think that that's something that was why in my head it's like a brick wall, because it's just like you have to like stand firm in that. It's so easy to like let yourself be run over, and people are persistent.
What? Yeah.
People
want what they want when they want it.
They work hard.
Yeah.
The devil works hard, but people who want to violate your boundaries work harder.
They sure do.
They really work hard. And so being okay with like going up against, like, because I think that that's something I'm having to learn, is that it takes more than one time, and that's something I'm not good at.
Correct. Because it's like people are still trying to learn your boundaries, and so they're going to try to push up against it a little bit. Like, it takes some trial and error, and it feels weird. It feels like you're being mean, like you're not being kind. Like, it's very uncomfortable, especially if you haven't established boundaries before. So if it feels uncomfortable and people are pushing up against it, you're doing it right.
And that's the hard part, because it takes more than one time. It does. And if you're not trained on how to navigate that space and it doesn't work the first time, you'll give up, and you'll be like, oh, this doesn't work. Like, I'm notorious for that. Like, if it doesn't work 1-2 times, I'm like, well, wasn't for me,
right?
And that's just a sign that you actually have to try 10 times at least. And I didn't know that.
We don't want that.
Not only do you not want that, you're not being trained. Like, no one gave me a rule book to say, hey, someone's gonna come up and try and push up against you 10 times, go for 11 at least, like something to give you like a frame of reference. Because if you don't see it happening initially, you're gonna think that it doesn't work. Like, it's never going to work. Correct. Like, no one's gonna respect you. So just given, like, maybe it doesn't work for you, like, certain narratives start to play in your head. And I think that if we have more conversations about the actual practical nature of establishing boundaries, I think more people will be like, oh, okay. Because a lot of times it's like, well, it doesn't work. Oh, she doesn't listen. Oh, he doesn't listen. Oh, they don't do this. And it's just like, yeah, they're not going to probably for the first few times. But the goal is for them to understand that this is not how they're going to treat you. And over time, which is what people don't tell you, is that then they'll like, okay, she's
not going to budge.
Exactly. And that's what I said. For me, in my head, it's a brick wall with like a guard in front of it. It's just like holding the fort. Like,
you have to.
No, you cannot pass. You shall not pass.
You have to honor yourself.
Yes.
And so many times we're honoring other people and dishonoring ourselves.
Exactly.
And so that even builds like distrust within ourselves. Absolutely. And trusting like your intuition or the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it. It causes like a lack of trust, and so we have to honor ourselves. We do. And I know this is a little bit off topic, but even just like you talking about how it takes multiple times to establish a boundary. I was just even thinking about like with forgiveness, like it takes multiple times even to forgive, because you just want to say a little prayer, be like, I forgive you, it's good, but you still
there's a different aspect of the memory,
correct,
that you hadn't thought about, and it pops up, and it brings all the pain back. It
does. And like forgiveness is repetitive, and that's something that I don't feel like I was necessarily taught, but that I noticed like no, you have to wake up and choose to forgive over and over again. It's not a one-time act.
Yep.
So,
because the enemy is seeking to sift you like wheat, and any little seed they can plant in your mind about like, but they did this too.
Correct.
And actually, I didn't even fully process all the things that happened in that instance.
Correct.
But they were so strategic, and they were actually trying to manipulate me. That, you know what I mean? Like when you start to remember all the
and then
details,
you just start to have like strife and
bitterness.
I'm not trying to block my blessings, okay? Because that's the best way to block things in your life. So
this is the fact. That is a spiritual law, actually.
Yeah.
You don't want to let that hold you back, like in terms of your blessings, in terms of your health.
Yes.
There's so many people, like there's so many health issues that if we really trace the roots back, it's not your diet, it's from your emotions that you've held. And these are like physical ailments. These are psychological disorders as well. Like that narrative that keeps playing in your mind, you're rewriting your brain chemistry.
You are.
And
I told you about that book, The Body Keeps Score.
It keeps score.
It does. Yeah.
So these are things that people don't like. Now we know more. We're trying to share with you guys because
we're learning, sharing as we learn through this journey.
Yeah, because these are the reasons why boundaries are important, because you, on top of forgiveness, right, it's taking it back to being in a place where you don't set yourself up to be in a situation because you violated your boundaries. Now you're resentful of the person for taking advantage of you and at yourself for allowing your boundaries to be violated. So you're looking at yourself like, why did I let this happen to me? And so it's being able to, one, forgive yourself, but also move forward and say, I don't want that to take place in the future. We have that right.
We do.
And that, I think sometimes, especially like the way you're socialized, you're taught to feel powerless about the ways in which you can assert your rights. But we are responsible for the environment that we're in, we have choices. We are not as powerless as those who try to oppress or take advantage would make us feel. Yes. And so, yeah.
I agree. Even like with setting boundaries, I'm the type of person, I have to practice, even like in counseling, like I would practice, okay, I would say this, I would say that, because you know, when you're in the moment, you don't want to be frozen or whatever. Absolutely. So you need to like practice, like, this is what I would say. And also, what is my, role play, what is my boundary and why? And what has that led to? Like looking
this is the thing.
Because, you know, there's a certain outcome we're trying to get to, we're trying to grow, we're trying to, you know, be the person God intended us to be, accomplish the things we're meant to accomplish. And so you have to you know, have those boundaries in place.
And this is I'm an experiential learner, so these are the things that I want people to talk to me, help me understand this, because like I can hear it, but how I process it, I can see it, and I'm like, okay, but then I may not necessarily apply it to myself or think it can be applied to me. So like you said, I need to walk it through and be like, okay, here's, and force myself to think, because sometimes this is where deliverance happens 90% of the time. 100%. Realizing that you've held up a mindset that actually isn't even true. Like when you said to break it down, you'd be like, that's not true. Correct. But the way it is a stronghold over my heart. Yes. Like when I try and poke up against that thing, I feel physically like this is not, I can't do that, but that's not true. It's not. And it's breaking free from that, like constantly undoing that mindset and be like, that's not true. You're not going to die. Correct. No one's going to hate you. You're not going to be abandoned by people. And if people make you feel like you're going to be abandoned, that's a sign to you that that's not somebody that really has your best interest at heart. That should help you start being free of that. And if you don't feel like you can be free of that, that's also identifying a deeper issue about some abandonment wounds, about all these different things, right? Yes, and this is the way I've been looking for therapists to talk to me like this, but I found like one.
I know there's sometimes,
and that makes me frustrated, because I'm just like, but this is the way people, I feel like, for me at least, that's how I learn. And so like I know that there are people who might be struggling with issues with regard to boundaries, and even understanding like where their dysfunction lies, because that's another thing too, right? Oh my goodness. Part of the reason why boundaries are so hard for people is because you don't know you're dysfunctional.
Girl, this whole unit is toxicity, just functioning and just spewing toxicity. And so
and a tornado.
Like, oh, that was toxic. It's like until you get out of a cult, then you look back and you're like,
what was I doing?
What was I doing?
And so
drinking that Kool-Aid.
with a vengeance. With a vengeance. And so I think about that, and I'm just like, part of the reason I think it's hard to, we just said that boundaries are hard because you don't know you're dysfunctional. But the other thing is, how do you even identify that you're dysfunctional? Because sometimes when someone calls something out about you, or says something about your family, or says something about your mama, and they're really just highlighting the fact that it's dysfunctional, you can take it so personally.
Oh, for sure. You can be offended, for sure.
The offense is on an all-time high. And then you cut off ties with that person who actually was probably sent to plant the seed of deliverance for you. And now
God sent.
What? And so, and it's hard to understand that, but I think that this is kind of where I'm still trying to understand how do we, because my legal brain is like very much just like, let's create some order here, because like this is not the first time this has happened. We've seen this for generations now. We have enough case studies to put together some type of just some strategies for how to identify like, this is not functioning the way it was intended, at least, you know. It's not healthy. Like maybe there's circumstances that require this kind of behavior and you had to adapt, but this isn't the standard. This isn't the norm.
But what does that mean? And so here's where I start to, I feel like everyone has a different threshold, or what they think is healthy, or how they can function, or, you know, because it has to do with your mental health, how much you're able to do, like, you know, so that threshold is different for everybody. And so that's why I think that there's not as many standards, is because literally everyone is different, and literally everybody's family or friendship or relational situation is so different that there is no guide. You have to guide yourself, because what works for me, I want to make sure, do I have peace?
Yeah, that's also true.
Do I have some type of joy? Am I fulfilling what I need to fulfill? And if I'm not, then I need to take a deeper look and see what needs to change or be evaluated.
And I think Yeah, no, continue.
Yeah, because I think sometimes the hardest part is just letting people say in their dysfunction, because if a person doesn't see that anything's wrong with their life, then there's nothing wrong with their life.
Yeah,
okay. Have you seen somebody posted, like, I forgot who it was. I think it was like Keanu Reeves, who was like, I just got to this place in life where somebody says 1 + 1 is 5. I just say you're right. That's the place in life that I've reached. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not using my time or energy to argue somebody down who doesn't want to change or who thinks that they're right. Like, a lot of people want to live in their delusion. I will not be joining you there. But.
I know. Yeah. And I think that's hard. And I'm also a recovering save a hoe.
Oh my, for reals. Oh
so my because I now understand I cannot save people. Watching the dysfunction spiral is really hard. But I think you like made a really good point about being able to do a self-awareness thing. It's like, do you have peace in this space? You know, like, are you stressed out about it? Because I think that is probably the best metric, because I think for me, because I don't want people to, I've learned so much, I've been delivered from so much, I've done so many unhealthy mindsets. I don't want other people to be living in the same chaos if they don't have to, you know. Being able to be self-aware about whether or not this is actually disruptive to your spirit and whether it's causing you stress, like do you have anxiety? Because I think there's some people who they are built for the pressure. And so they can actually be in environments, they thrive, you know, in just the chaos and of it, but they also don't know how to sit still sometimes. But they do know how to manage those type of spaces, and they can do it. But I think some people kind of force themselves into spaces that they weren't built for just because they're trying to meet the standard of everyone else that may be in their environment. That some may be functioning, some may be dysfunctional. So I think that's the part where I'm hoping people can at least have those honest conversations with themselves so they can have peace, because that's really the goal, is peace. It is. The goal is peace, and peace in truth, not peace in delusion.
Ignorance is bliss, girl.
I
some people live in that mindset.
I know. But yeah. So I think that's how I feel about boundaries. How do you work on not feeling guilty about saying no?
Oh, you're gonna feel guilty, especially at the beginning. Like, you're doing something new, you're flexing a new muscle. It's going to feel not good. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to think you're doing something wrong, and that's how you know that you're actually moving in the right direction, which is why I also think it's really good to like have a support system around you, or like a counselor or somebody, because once you start doing this and you're on your own, you're going to feel like you're moving in the wrong direction. And this is the thing. So you need somebody cheering you on, like you're going in the right direction, you're doing the right thing. It might not feel good, but you're moving in the right direction.
And I think that's the part that I'm thankful, like the last therapist that I had was able to articulate to me, is like, you're going to feel uncomfortable, but that's okay. Because I didn't feel like, when I was initially trying to do this on my own, like you said, I felt like maybe I'm wrong, you know? And that goes a lot to like, from a spiritual standpoint, like we're all wired to hear God's voice, but the way that we hear God's voice can be manipulated and distorted by our trauma. And so if your trauma or your influence tells you that you have to overperform in order to receive love, then that's going to be the voice telling you that the guilt is going to be like you're doing something wrong. And the reality is you're just undoing something, and it's uncomfortable. And that part is very, very, like, we take for granted how sensitive that space is.
For sure.
And that's the part that I think I did not have a lot of guidance on at first, until I had someone being like, no, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going in the right direction. Because everything else, you're pushing up against something that is probably a very common aspect of your life, meaning maybe family members, maybe friends, maybe a significant other, maybe, you know what I mean? Like these are people who are in your environment regularly, and now you're having to change the dynamic between the two of you.
It's going to cause friction.
It's going to cause friction. And you can easily be the problem person if everyone in that environment is operating in one way and you're having to go against the grain. You're going to feel crazy. You're going to feel like you're the bad person. And people,
they're going to make you the bad person.
They're going to make you man,
why are you changing this? What are you doing?
Why aren't you doing what I want?
Because they're used to you performing in one way, so when you change up on them, it's just like, hold on. Shasha. We need things to go back. We're creatures of habit.
And people like their comfort zones a lot. So that's the part where I'm just like, we should have more conversations about like how to stay safe in your transition, because the enemy's gonna try to take you out.
I can't. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So, but yeah, what are your thoughts on balancing boundaries with community?
Balancing boundaries with community. I know in a previous episode we talked about like the importance of community, but at the same time, just knowing your limits. Like I'm just getting to this point in life where I'm like relearning myself. Like I have to start asking myself, like, do I like this, or am I just doing this because I've been doing this for 10 years?
Right.
Like, you know? Yeah. So also just asking yourself, like, what do I need? Why am I doing this? Just almost questioning everything and just starting to like know yourself more.
Yeah.
And so like with community, like even though I would say I'm somewhat like I'm pretty introverted and extroverted, so just knowing like the balance of like when I really do need to be around people and really do need to be like especially more vulnerable with my friends and my community and just sharing like what's going on with me, and also knowing like, okay, this is time I need to process on my own. So I would definitely say I'm still learning how to balance boundaries in my community, but it's something I'm actively working on, and I know that it's something that's really important for my growth and where I'm trying to go, because I mean, I'm a human being. I have limited amount of energy, time, and so just boundaries helps with that. So you can be like, these are some goals that I have in place. Absolutely. Here's some things I prioritize, and in order to do those things, you have to say no to certain things and yes to certain things. So it's I'm still navigating that right now.
That is, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Yeah. I think that is a space where it can be really complicated if you are in environments where there is a lot of pressure for everyone to do the same things. Yeah. Because I think there's a balance between like making sure communities show up for one another, because if no one shows up because everyone has boundaries, then whatever system you've created is not going to function. But at the same time, I think that sometimes we can take on the load too often, for sure, because we think that if no one shows up, like at least I'm gonna show up, instead of really evaluating like, are you the one that needs to show up in this space? Like, what is your real commitment to this place? Because you might be overextending yourself. You might be spread thin, and then overextending yourself while you're spread thin can lead to resentment for the community that is supposed to feed you. You know, now you feel like you're doing all the work, but the question is, are you supposed to be doing all the work? You know, and I think those are that space is a challenging one if you don't understand your why for your community, for sure, and setting some initial boundaries going into your community. And what is your relationship with this community? Are you here to carry the community? And if you are, have you created systems and put them in place so that you have the time for this to be the one thing you're carrying?
Girl, it's so crazy that you're talking about this, because literally in counseling yesterday, I already realized I need to let something go. My counselor was like, ma'am, is you doing too much? I sure is, per usual. You know? So I already realized, even like in church, like I'm serving on 2 different teams. I'm like, maybe one.
You know?
Girl, who told you to be 2?
You just got back.
Girl, why? Doing the most per usual. So, yeah.
And that can be hard if you've been socialized.
Yes. The more that I do, the better of a person I am, and the closer I am to God.
And who said that? Who? God didn't say that.
I don't know. You know? That's how I've been socialized, to perform.
It's a performance thing. And so it's
the more you do, the better you are.
And that it's hard. I'm guilty too.
I'm learning.
I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm very guilty. So I think a lot of people can relate to this space in terms of setting boundaries, not people pleasing, And because that's the other underbelly of it all.
That word has just been coming up a little bit too much in my life.
Because you want to make sure that people are happy. You don't
want to rock the boat. That's always me. I don't want to rock the boat. Like, I want a false sense of peace, and everybody's feeling peaceful except me.
Exactly. And that's not healthy.
It's not.
Because then who's happy at this point?
Yeah.
No one's really happy. Everyone's walking on eggshells and there's no peace. So, yeah, I think that boundaries are definitely a continuing conversation for a lot of people in this season, because I think a lot of people are realizing the extent to which their reality, their foundation has been built on taking care of others, making sure other people are okay. And your psyche, your mind, it can only take so much of neglect of self. And I think that when you start to realize that you're crumbling under the pressure of taking care of everyone else, it's usually a sign that you aren't taking care of yourself.
For sure.
And that means you're going to have to pull back. Other people are going to have to be okay with your no. Because you will not be able to function.
Right. Cannot sustain this.
It's unsustainable. You are not meant to carry all of that weight on your own.
For sure.
So I think that's why the conversation is still going. And there's a lot of tie into boundaries and people pleasing and navigating individuals who may be displaying narcissistic tendencies. That's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day.
For sure.
But it to like just kind of like tease into it, it's the idea that there is somebody who needs your affection, that needs your love, that needs your affirmation. And if you've been trained and primed to give those things, because that's what love looks like, that's what kindness looks like, that's what gentleness looks like, you will find yourself pouring until you have an empty well, and then being confused as to why you can't pour. You're completely depleted. And then when you realize that you haven't been poured into, you're going to be mad at the person you've been giving everything to. And the reality is that dynamic was dysfunctional from the very beginning.
Yes, both of y'all dysfunctional. Doing a dysfunctional dance.
So for anyone who's looking for a definition of dysfunction or an example of dysfunction, that's one. That's one. And it's not to say that you can't love somebody that maybe needs a lot of love.
Yes, but you need to have the correct boundaries.
And these are the things. And being able to articulate that and understand that it's okay to say no to that person. It doesn't mean that you hate them. It doesn't mean that you don't love them. But you are one person.
That's it.
And according to my faith, there's only one person that can save you.
Yes.
That's Jesus.
Jesus.
It's not me. My name is Teeny.
Correct. So, that is true.
It's giving I can't do that for you.
Cannot. Absolutely not.
But yeah, that's boundaries in a nutshell.
Yeah.
The time we have today. You want to add anything else?
No, I just want to say I can't believe we completed our first season of our podcast. It's been a long time coming, and I've really enjoyed this space, and I can't wait for the next season.
Me too. Yeah, we are gonna go back to the drawing board, and we'll let you know when the next season will drop. Stay tuned. Stay tuned, everyone. But thank you so much for watching our podcast, No But Actually. Please stay in touch with us. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok. Like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel, on Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're probably going to be on all the platforms. But we love you guys. Comment, let us know what your thoughts are on boundaries. We'd love to hear it and interact with you all. But yeah, that's it. Thanks. Bye.
We did it. It's alright.